Has it been a little while? Have you missed me? Live from my mother's basement, here's Johnny. Hooray. So the other night, I watched Slammiversary with my best friend. You can follow him on Twitter at Dan Talks Wrestling. You can follow his blog, dantalkswrestling.livejournal.com. I don't know how many times I've plugged it. It's never enough. He's a good guy. Deserves your read. So yeah, Slammiversary, watched it. Enjoyed it. Really did, truly. A couple of things I thought were a little bit screwy, or maybe not the best executors they could be, but I mean, realistically, why fucking nitpick? It felt like a big time pay-per-view to me. It felt like they delivered when they needed to, and I was pleasantly, surprised. I didn't mind paying for it. I was happy to give them my money, and I was happy to support a company that fucking wants to listen to their fans sometimes. Now, with that said, we all are well aware of the Aces and Eights kind of losing its luster, you might say, if it ever had that to begin with. The angle is kind of still hanging on. I mean, I guess that Bully Ray had to win. Everybody kind of assumed that. I'm glad that they didn't give the victory to Sting, but that match was not exactly, impressive in my book. I did like how they tried to sell the constant, chance of injury angle and him taking Sting out. I loved the pile driver. I loved the interview before the match. I love a lot of the little things that they did, but I think that the execution of this match, just because of the reason that Sting is, 50 some odd years old? 55, 52, 53? I don't fucking know. Old enough to where he shouldn't be in the main event at a major pay-per-view. Maybe the second biggest of the year, behind Bound for Glory. But the biggest one that they've had so far. I get the whole tradition with having Sting. He's a major player for their company, and it was nice to, kind of give him maybe one last thing. But, don't you think that Bully Ray should have had a different opponent? Don't you think it should have been some other kind of guy that he could have really worked with? I get that Sting might be the biggest babyface in the company. I get that they didn't want to throw Kurt Angle maybe at him right away. And I get that they've kind of buried a lot of the other guys, whether down the card or that, they're not Hogan's first pick. But what the fuck happened to Matt Morgan? How come he didn't cost Sting the match last night? How come Sting was able to take out every member of Aces and Eights with a crotch shot? That was kind of weird too. So it kind of bothered me a little bit there. But I'm not going to flunk the pay-per-view for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to sit here and bitch to no end when I was, rather thoroughly entertained from top to bottom. Everybody is talking about the last knockouts standing match and, that spot where they went off the ramp, and that was insane. You don't see the men doing that, let alone the women. I don't need to go into a whole lot of detail about this because everyone else is talking about it, but I just want to say that it's worth talking about. And for anybody to not think that TNA is listening to the fans, well, that match right there is all you need to know. Women's wrestling is still highly valued in TNA. When they took the belt off of Velvet Sky, I felt that they were also listening to some of us fans. Also, the ones that actually want to see wrestling and not Velvet sit in there and fuck up the whole time. I'm not really a big Velvet Sky fan. I appreciate what she's done for the exposure of TNA. I always liked her better in a group, in a tag team where they could kind of hide her weakness, maybe give her a hot tag or something. Never really cared about the Let the Pigeons Loose shit. It's kind of lost its big effect after Taz stopped doing it anyway. But I was kind of glad to see him give it up, in all honesty, because it was getting old for me. Why they didn't have the Knockouts title match, I don't know. Maybe it's because Velvet is too legitimately hurt to compete and wasn't cleared. But I really thought that the Gail Kim Taryn Terrell story, the way that this has played out since even lockdown, and I loved it. I enjoyed that. And that might be, top two matches of the night for me. I did think that the tag team match was rather great, but I'm not quite sure about why you would give Gunner and James Storm the titles at this point, because I always felt like a tag division or something strong was always better centered around a heel team. And I felt that either Aries and Rude or, Kaz and Daniels could really carry that belt for a while and get Chavo and Hernandez out of there for a while. Whether they break those two off or keep them as a team in the interim to get other teams over, I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't care. I think that, if anything, they want to make me care about Chavo again, like when he first joined up. They need to separate him from Hernandez, and they need to give him a singles run at doing something. He's a third-generation star. He's been champions, multiple times in multiple other companies. I think he deserves his due. And I think that holding him into the tag team division like they've been doing, while originally it was a good boost in the arm, now it's just kind of old. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand on Slammiversary. Is I wasn't, gonna rave about it to the high heavens. I wasn't gonna shout out the door, but I really do think that they can be proud of the show that they put on. And here's the other big thing, though, with TNA is, like, every time that TNA has an announcement, they make it like it's this huge earth-shattering thing. TNA recently went on record to say that they had signed a big talent, and, a lot of people were speculating. People were saying it could be Goldberg, it could be Batista, it could be God knows who, ex-WWE star, it could be somebody from the independent scene. And then they go ahead and they sign Rampage, and it's like, I'm just not feeling it, guys. These MMA people that really they could work out, but I can't get excited for it. Give me something that I feel is going to showcase actual wrestlers and not people that just want to have a run in wrestling. I'm not a big fan of Rampage. I'm sorry about that. If that offends anybody, so be it. I mean, that's my opinion. You're listening to my video. Just saying. But I don't like the fact that every time that TNA has a major announcement, it's always a major announcement. Why can't TNA just kind of go with the flow on this? If you're going to sign Rampage, don't release it on Twitter and don't, do a fucking interview. Try to do something. If you're going to play it up like it's a big deal, make it a big deal. Make it like when I know that everything can't be like when Hogan signed with WCW and they had the motorcade, the fucking parade, the thing, thousands of fans. But do something like that. Don't just fucking release it on Twitter or, have Dixie Carter announce it on Facebook or, you know what I mean? Like, that's dumb. And it doesn't feel like a big deal like that. And then every time thereafter when you say something is a big deal, it just doesn't feel like it. So for everything that TNA has been doing right, and they have been doing a lot of things right, I think that they still have a little bit of work to do. Although I will say this, when I was watching Slammiversary and Hulk Hogan just started going off on the microphone, my friend Dan and I were just looking at each other like, where the fuck is this coming from? It was fantastic. He was owning people left and right. I was thoroughly entertained. And Garrett Bischoff is still a bitch. This is Johnny, live from his mother's basement, tagging out.